He hails from Perry, Georgia. He was a defensive tackle for the Cleveland Browns. He played in the CFL and the USFL. He's a college football All-American with Florida State University, where his number was retired by the university. He's a college football Hall of Famer and a WWE Hall of Famer. Three-time WWE Tag Team Champion, a WCW Tag Team Champion. He is the first black World Heavyweight Champion in professional wrestling history. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ron Simmons. And as you can tell, that's not all. My next two guests are going to come out here together from Detroit, Michigan, ladies and gentlemen. They are two-time WWF Tag Team Champions, seven-time WCW/NWA Tag Team Champions, and two times IWGP Tag Champs. They've got so many accolades individually as well. They're considered one of, if not the greatest tag team of all time. Folks, please welcome Rick and Scott Steiner, the Steiner Brothers. What you may not realize is these three men have a lot of history together. Three of the hardest hitting competitors to ever lace up a pair of boots inside the squared circle. Since we're all here together, I guess we'll ask, what are some fond memories that the three of you have maybe working together, maybe with Doom versus the Steiner Brothers, maybe some of those early WCW days?
You know what, that's a really easy question to answer. You know, I get asked that a lot, and particularly having worked with Rick and Scott, right? But let me just say this, right? I've been an athlete all my life, as well as Rick and Scott. For us working together, I always look forward to that because I know what it took for them to be as good as they were and what they were doing, and they knew it took what it took for me to be as good as what I did. Okay? We had a mutual respect for each other, and when we got in the ring, we performed the way I think it should be. We didn't mind hitting each other, man, and laying it in because we didn't bitch and whine like a lot of the guys do today. We did our thing and made it look believable. That's one of the things that I really enjoy and you know, the most about working with them. So I always look forward to it.
How about on this side of it?
You know, first of all, Ron's probably one of the best athletes to ever be in this wrestling business. Out of the ring, in the ring. You know, and I heard these last guys, black and white. It didn't make it crap. We were in there together, making sure we had the best match. And it was easy to have a great match with Ron. He was a great athlete. When we got in there, we knew we were going to have a fight. And that's the way we did it. And when you got somebody and you respect somebody as much as we did Ron, it made it easy.
Wow, when I was in high school, I saw Sports Illustrated. Ron, you remember this when you're benching had a picture of your Benson on
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's what so I knew from when I was young that Ron was a great athlete, and then of course when he went to college, he dominated. So Ron and Butch were both great athletes. So I mean, if you ever just watch our matches, you can tell how athletic Ron is. So yeah, we had a great time, and we knew, like you said, we knew we were going to go at it, and you know, we did it. Yeah, put the best match on.
Yeah, and you know, and then just to go a little further, you know, to me, I think it was the best era in professional wrestling that there'll ever be, man. By far, okay? Because everybody, you know, we came in kind of with that, believing getting in the ring, man, you know, and performing, you know. And it was always something I look forward to when you got in the ring with guys that you knew were going to come out there and have the same thing in mind, like, you know, like I did, right? And working with Rick and Scott, I'm telling you, it was amongst the best period of time for me as in a tag team, for real. Myself and Butch, man, we always look forward to it.
So what, you kind of alluded to it. So was there a difference in the locker room for guys like you? I mean, you guys came from a collegiate athletic background in football and in wrestling, University of Michigan and Florida State. Was there a big difference in terms of like the dynamic and the talent? Like did you collegiate athletes kind of more cling together, or was there more collective mindset amongst everybody?
Well, I think everybody that went to college had a mutual respect for each other because we all realized how hard you had to get a scholarship, play at that level. So all the college athletes in professional wrestling always, for the most part, had respect for each other, unless you're a dick. But no, everybody, you know, 'cause like I said, it took a lot to get a college scholarship, so we knew how hard you had to work to get it. So, you know, you knew there was no bullshit, you know?
Yeah, it's like, you know, outside of it, it's like a fraternity in itself. Because we all knew, and coming from Pop Warner up to high school, look, well, it's a lot of hard work, okay? Myself, Black Luger, all of us coming up through there, man, listen, you had to really put a lot of work in order to, you know, perform at that level in D1, and then like Scott and Rick, myself and Lex, you know, and all those guys that have come through college, we understood each other because we knew what it took to get to that level, you know. So it was a mutual respect all the time, Peter.
So what was the transition like? I mean, you all kind of had this. You guys were going on this track in football and in wrestling. So at what point was it that you all kind of shifted gears and started directing all of your energy and your athletic talent towards professional wrestling? What led to that?
Well, I started right away after college because there's no professional sports for, you know, amateur wrestling. So, plus my brother was 2 years ahead of me, so I used to watch him. First he was up in the AWA, and then he went down for Bill Watts. So I kind of followed his path, but like I said, there's no professional sports or league for wrestling, so I knew which way I was going to go.
I know Rick got a degree in education. Was your degree in education as well, or?
I have 3 PhDs and a couple of doctorates. In mathematics.
That's
We're talking nothing short of genius here.
We got a lesson last night here.
Yeah, I think the transition for me was a little bit harder than it was for Rick and Scott, you know, coming from being All-American wrestlers, right? And the high percentage for football players, you know, is a little bit less making that crossover, right? Because you got to come in now and reframe your thought, you know? Thought process, you know, had to slow down a little bit more than being the aggressor and stuff, which they already knew how to come in, you know, and how to approach it much more than I did. You know, so I had to kind of, you know, brainwash myself and get back, you know, into that what it's going to take to become a professional wrestler. So it was a little bit of a tougher transition for me.
So did you grow up a fan?
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay, I mean, I figured you wouldn't get into it if you didn't.
Oh yeah.
What about you guys? Did you grow up as fans of wrestling as well? Because you get a lot of this sense that people that are in amateur wrestling or in Olympic wrestling don't necessarily look at professional wrestling in the same light. Were you guys fans growing up watching?
I wasn't a fan because there was only 3 channels on our TV from the hillbilly town I grew up with. So, but I became a fan once it got hot in college. That was when '83, that's when it really started getting hot. So that's when I'm a big fan.
How about any memory specifics? Since we're here in Jacksonville, let's talk a little Jacksonville. I mean, you guys have worked all over the world. Any specific or good memories working here in Jacksonville in particular?
The other one that really sticks out for me was Goldberg and I came into town, and the guys from yeah, so when we came into town, I know some of the guys from Leonard Skinner were still here. They would invite us over for a birthday party a couple times. Every time we came into town, those guys called and we'd meet them somewhere or do something with them. But for the most part, Jacksonville's always been a great town of wrestling, and fans are great. And we had a bunch of pay-per-views here, so it was always a good time to come down to Florida.
Yeah, and for me, now I've had history with coming here, right, started with college, okay? Coming down with the University of Florida, of course, there's a lot of, fans from here, Gator fans, as well as FSU fans, right?
Halloween every year.
I gotta say this, all right? Not a better city to be supported by in professional wrestling than the people of Jacksonville. Can't get any better. Hands down. Thank you.
Now, I wasn't prepped for 3 of you together, so the questions are a little different than the way I had it kind of mapped out. You guys bounced around, went WCW, WWF, back to WCW. Ron, you kind of went WCW, then stayed in WWE. What was it like bouncing through the companies? And I know you guys only had a short time in WWE, but you did a lot while you were there. Talk to us maybe about your run in WWE as tag champs, the Survivor Series match you had with Lex Luger, The Undertaker, a lot of great stuff there.
When we went up there, it sucked. All because, Chris was going through that steroid trial. Then they were paying WBF people. They had guaranteed contracts, we didn't, which pissed everybody off. So it was a bad time to be up there. So it was probably one of the worst mistakes we ever made. But it was an experience, you live and learn. But it was something that I wish we never did.
Yeah, and just like what Scotty just said, nobody in this business, man, rarely gets to stay in one promotion their entire career, and sometimes it's better for you to move around. Hey, you get fired, you go to another place. It's not like it was earlier on when I caught a little tail end of one of the territorial things. You go from each city or each state rather than get a job, but part of the journey, if you're professional wrestling, is moving around.
August 2nd, 1992 is when you won the World Championship. It's applause-worthy for sure. Talk to us a little bit about that, especially at that time. How was that for you? You were still pretty early in your career. You're working 6-7 years at this point. What was it like to be put into that position and that run that you had for about 5-6 months?
Hey, put in that position is what all of everyone in this business wants to be put in that position, That's what you work for. You want to achieve, like we did in amateur and in college, you want to be the best. So the best in this business is become the world champion, Hey, you don't get that just by saying, hey, come in here, man, without paying your dues in it. So it was a highlight for me, and it still is, right? And the best thing about that to this day that I love is that when people of all races come up to me and say, hey, that was a motivational factor for me to get my life together. And that to me is a testament in itself. That's what I love about it the most.
We're going to get ready to ask some fans some questions, but I do have one for me in particular. Scott, I watched the video the other day of you as a ring announcer. That's my area of expertise. I wonder if you had any personal tips on ring announcing based on what I saw from your interesting approach the other day.
Oh yeah, that was just something I did in TNA, you know. And it's like I was just having fun with it. I didn't realize I had to do it to like a couple hours before. So I just, like I said, trying to make the people laugh.
It worked for you. I feel like it wouldn't get me many jobs personally.
You asked how were you, right?
Oh.
How did you do? Did you ask him?
I said if he had any tips for me.
Yeah, don't let the door hit you in the ass.
I kind of had that coming. All right, let's ask some fans some questions. We've got some absolute legends here in the ring. I know you guys have some questions for Rick, Scott, Ron, this gentleman right in the front row. Let's go right to him.
Hey guys, you know, you're three of the best wrestlers in this sport. And every time I've seen you guys have all been professional. You don't have a professional, what do you call it, backgrounds, because you hear the stories that are out there. Not you, Ron. You know, your partner was the bad one. JBL.
Well, I like, and when you say bad one, in what sense you're
As bad as in ribbing people, taping people.
Let me make a correction for you right there. Did you hear what I said at the beginning of when we started the interview? There's a difference in between the era that we wrestled and what you see now, okay? See, that wasn't considered, you know, oh my God, he's abusing me back then. Yeah. It was just a normal joke, okay? I agree. Now you cannot blow on somebody, you know, without them thinking, oh my God, I'll sue your ass, you know, right, okay?
Cancel generation, I agree.
No, that's not true about him, okay? That was just some pansy-ass people that couldn't take it.
But I know that we've actually, we covered the WWE, WCW, but I want to let you guys know that I watched you guys in the Japan days that you guys did. That tour was awesome. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that you guys went over there and you stored a house up over there. And I can tell you, and I want you guys to know that those are some of the best matches that I've seen you guys do. So I want to make sure the credit is given of those matches as well. And Ron, my parents, when I was younger, I'm from Daytona Beach, Florida, but I live in South Carolina now. But growing up, Tony Atlas and yourself, and to see you guys here in person and the way that you guys still give back today, I want to tell you guys how much you appreciate it. And I think everybody in here, the fact that we're here for the second day in a row, lets you know that we appreciate you guys. And I think you guys definitely need to hear it. But thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we got one over here. Yes, sir.
Hi, this is for the Steiner Brothers. Recently online, I saw a match of the two of you facing Greg and Owen Hart. What was it like being in the ring with those two, knowing that they were pure wrestling, people and actual also real brothers? Because in the business, they put people together to say they're brothers, but they were brothers just like you. And being in the ring with them was, I gotta tell you, when I was watching, it was a masterpiece of a match. So what was it like being in the ring with those two guys?
You know, Brett's a great wrestler. Owen was a great wrestler, God rest his soul. He for us to have that opportunity, I think it was in Schenectady, New York, or something like that. It was a great opportunity for us to get in there and show what we could do with someone else who had the same kind of background as we did. I know Brett and their father and the way he trained a lot of the guys. So for my brother and I to get in there and show, that we could go with some other wrestling families, brothers. It was just a great opportunity. We made the best of it. Anytime we got in the ring, we tried to make the best we could with whatever, whoever we were facing. So those guys are a couple of great guys, great brothers, great family.
All right, we got another question over here.
For the Steiners, recently watched on TV talk about the collision in Korea. Listen to Scorpio talk about it, Scott Norton, Eric Bischoff. Wonder if you guys could tell a little bit about your experience over there in Korea. You experienced the same thing, and just tell some stories about that, maybe.
Oh, it was an amazing event. 180 100,000 people one night, 192 the next. I mean, it was that many people was kind of mind blowing. But no, they just said when we landed, they took our passport, so we knew we were fucked. And the food was horrible. I didn't eat one tablespoon of their food. Luckily I brought tuna fish with me because it was bad, man. And the country was deprived. I mean, it was a lot of poverty, but as far as the wrestling event, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was a great event. We got to go around and see some things, but like my brother said, we couldn't go outside. We had bodyguards follow us. And thanks to Scott Norton, he called home and talked to his wife and said it was the shits. And they were listening to him, so he shut all our phones off. So then we couldn't call home anymore. It was rough. I mean, the plane we came in on was an old Korean plane, and I didn't know if we were going to make it out of there, but Hawk and Scorpio, they had their little incident over there. Went over there with Muhammad Ali. He was our U.S. ambassador. That was kind of cool. So there was a lot of good things that happened while we were there. There was a lot of, we got to see the culture. That wasn't, they live in, it's a third world country over there. And believe me, when it came time to eat, like my brother said, and some of the other things, we were just not allowed to do it.
We got another one over here.
This is for Rick and Scott. How did y'all come up with y'all's unique tag team finishers like the top rope, DDT, and freaking Bulldog? And was any opponents afraid to take it?
No, we just try to do stuff that other people weren't doing, So that's why I came up with Frank Steiner, Steiner screwdriver, Bulldog off the top. It was just evolution. We wanted to change the way tag team wrestling was. We wanted to do different things that people haven't seen before. So that was our main focus for why we did the different moves.
One thing I want to say, there was only a handful of guys that could actually do that Frankensteiner. Mr. Ron Simmons was probably one of the only ones that could take that thing and get going out of the ring.
That's actually I look forward to it. Because I knew Chris wasn't going to do it.
So we just try to be innovative and try to do some different things that look good, and some of them work, some of them didn't.
Speaking of that, I'll follow that up. There's a really cool sequence if you go back to WrestleMania 9, which not a lot of people talk about that match, but you reversed a Doomsday device into a power slam off their shoulders. Like, I guess that maybe you just answered it, but that was a hell of an innovative maneuver. Where did you guys come up with that idea, and how was that received? It's very cool for all the fans here. If you haven't gone back to see it, it's incredible.
Well, once again, working with those guys, the Simones, great team, great family, great guys to work with in the ring. I know Ron's worked with those guys several times in the rings. They were great to work with. We had to come up with something different, and I said, well, let's try this, and we tried it, and it worked. So we were lucky.
Here we are talking about it today. I think it worked. All right, we got one more question here.
I've got one for each of you, actually. So Ron, when you went into that match with Vader in '92, when did you know you were going to get the title that night? Was it when you showed up, or was Watts kind of planning that to sort of make you like Junkyard Dog? And then Scott, for you, I wanted to ask, I just watched your match against Goldberg on Monday Night Nitro. I think it was your first match with him. It was really, really stiff. I'm just wondering, was that just because he was green, or you guys really just let it fly? And then last, Rick, when did the dog gimmick come out?
All right, well, I'll start in the sequence right there. No, I did not know, man. When I showed up, right, I was mid-card, working right, and when I showed up there in the building, right, this is when all of this started to take place. So we wanted to keep it as spontaneous as possible. That's why you got the reaction at the finish of the match like it was, right? Yeah, and it felt that way for all of us, right? Yeah, but in answer to your question, no one did, not even me. I like to refer to it as a real moment in professional wrestling, right?
As far as like we were saying earlier, like college athletes respect college athletes. That's why me and Bill had most respect for each other. And like I said, we just went out there and did what we had to do to the best of our ability. So it was fun. We did, beat the crap out of each other, but it was all to entertain the fans.
The dog face, I have that to thank Kevin Sullivan for that. He came up with that dog face name, and it was at a TV down at Center Stage we were doing, and I clotheslined somebody, he just yelled out, start barking, and so I started running around barking, and he came up with the name. I owe that to Kevin Sullivan.
Kevin Sullivan's here today, and y'all can catch up with him if you want to follow up with a little bit more. That is unfortunately all the time we have, but we are so grateful for the time that you three absolute legends have spent with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up one more time. Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner, and Ron Simmons here at the River City Wrestling Cup.
Thank you all for coming out. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And thanks for over the years. Thank you.